Well, it's time. Hi, I'm Maxim, and I'm ranking every single portal today. Well, we know set 13 is on the horizon, and with set 13 being, well, they're starting to release all the stuff, I thought I was like, well, I want to rank something about set 12, because I enjoyed set 12. I think set 12 as a whole was a pretty alright set. Like, I think it's not set 10. Like, it's not set 10 as a whole. But overall, I think set 12 delivered on what it should have been. Charms is a perfectly fine set mechanic that did what it needed to do. But yeah, overall, just a fine set. Say like a solid 7, maybe 8 out of 10. But what I really want to get into is these portals. Because portals, as we know, a portal is a whole trait. So portals, for me, they can change how much I enjoy the game. So let's just get into that. So yeah, first of all, this is purely based on my opinion, of course. This is my channel, this is my video, and if you didn't like it, I mean, you can let me know. There will be stuff you disagree with. That's the idea behind an opinion. But to clarify it a bit, I'd like to give you a bit of like what my reasoning is and how my thought process went. Now, as you see, F tier, this is actively the portals that I hate. This is the portals that if they're picked, I'm like, oh, I have to sit through this game and know that my experience is gonna be hampered a little. That I'm not gonna enjoy my game as much as I would if there were any other portals picked. So, yeah, never pick these, please, if you play a game with me. God, I'm inviting people to troll me, huh? Well, but D tier, mostly boring as well. Most of the ones that I almost never pick, unless there are 3 D tier portals at once. Then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll pick this one. But most of the time, I'm never going for these portals. Just never do it. Now C tier, these are less portals. Like C tier, as we all know, is like the mid, like the meh, the whatevers, the okays, and this that definitely also reflects in my list here. These are portals that I usually don't pick, but yeah, I'm not exactly happy or sad about these being the outcome of the game. Like, it's fine. Now B tier, this is ones where I'm like, okay, sure, we can work with this. They may give you something that transforms your game a little bit and may give you like a nice extra bonus that really helps you. But most of the times these are not all that transformative. Sometimes they are not. But overall, these portals are just not that interesting. But still, I wouldn't actively call them bad or boring. Like for people that have not seen them before, they're like, oh, how do I play around this? How do I figure this one out? You know, it's like a fine one. Now A tier, this is the ones where they get really good. Like these are the like 7.5, 8 out of 10s and above. Spoiler alert, like most of this list is gonna be relatively positive because I don't think a lot of the portals are actively bad. But A tiers, these are at worst helpful and at best give you like a nice puzzle or change the way you play, like are actively transformative and change your game around, which I really like because what I like about TFT is that infinite puzzle that you can constantly figure out. So that's why. And S tier, they are A tier portals, but even better. What else is there to say? Sometimes they give you an extremely helpful bonus. They completely change the way the game works. They give you a completely different puzzle and actively reward you if you solve that. So if you solve that puzzle correctly, you can seriously help your way towards that first. And that's what I really, really enjoy about TFT. That figuring out that puzzle, figuring out the how to play around this extra bonus that the game gives you. So, with that being said, let's get into the first one. I will go on one by one, and we'll see about them. But first of all, F tier. You might think of like, okay, Golden Finale. Why is Golden Finale last? Why is Golden Finale that bad? Well, Golden Finale for me is extremely boring. And if I want my TFT games to be anything, it's not boring. So what do I mean by this? Well, there are ways the augment structures are structured. Yeah, let's go with that. And the thing is, with 4-2 augments, a lot of them are like extra combat bonuses and extra nice things. And Golden Finale gives you a guaranteed combat bonus, essentially, because a lot of Golden 4-2 augments are have an extra bit of item components, have a bit of extra gold. Oh, your units do like 10% more damage. You know, something like that. Like a vast majority of gold augments work like that. And on 2-1 and 3-2, you have the chance to get hero augments and like really transformative like stuff like patient study that can really help you scale towards that late game. Golden Quest is a really important one. And all these cannot drop on 4-2. This is why it's actively that low. Because it doesn't give you anything extra. It's just the final augment will be gold. And it will actively hurt you from getting interesting late game silver or prismatic augments, such as the where you get a random emblem, any prismatic augment. These are all the reasons why I actively hate this one being picked. And once we get further into this list, I hope you really understand like why Golden Finale I hate. But moving on to D tier, why more of these other finale, like Golden Prelude, which I will get into later, I don't actively hate as much. Now, Ascending Augments, now this is also one that annoys me. And that's why it's so low. It's like, oh, we know exactly what the augments are gonna be. Why is this exactly bad? Now, to me, what I love about TFT is the unpredictability of it and playing around that unpredictability. What this does is remove all that unpredictability. And I don't like that. I don't like it. It removes all the unpredictability. People can already plan out of like, oh, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. There's a prismatic augment last, so I'm gonna lose streak into a prismatic. Fine. If you like that, amazing. I don't. I like to be like, oh, on 2-1, oh, there's a prismatic. Oh, I can play for a win streak here with this super strong augment that I get here. Or, oh, I get upgraded adventure. Oh, okay, reroll time, and we'll go for something great. Or with a silver. Oh, I get a random emblem. Oh, I get a scholar emblem. Okay, let's try to play a scholar game. That's what I like about TFT. And this somewhat prevents that. But why it's not F tier is because, well, it doesn't actively prevent interesting augments from spawning. It just prevents the variety that I like about it. So my personal enjoyment tanks a little bit, but I don't actively hate it. So it's like, fine. So 3 champions, which means you start essentially with 2 more gold. That's it. Spoiler alert, there's a portal that gives you 5 gold more at the beginning. So that means that this is basically always worse. So if you actively pick this one over the gold start, why? Well, there might be one, and I mean one single reason why, and that is the very slim chance that you start with a 2-star 1 cost on 2-1. But, as you can see, you can also do that by just picking upgraded champion. That is a guaranteed 2-star 1 cost. These 2 portals both are in that same way of like, why would you pick this? There is no reason to pick this over anything else. As I said, yeah, you spawned with what's essentially 2 more gold. If you hit something like an upgraded adventure, you might have use out of this. You might get a little bit more gold, but there are so many better sources to get that more gold. Pick a good augment that gives you more gold. Pick another portal that gets you more gold. Almost every single portal gives you more gold than these two. Please never pick these. Number 32, loaded carousels. This is the first one. I mean, aside from maybe Golden Finale, where I'd say, yeah, this is personal bias. This is truly, truly personal bias because a lot of people really like this one, and for what I've experienced in my games, people pick this over a lot of stuff. Like I've seen people pick this over Treasure Golems, over Champion Conference, over Anvil Buffet, and I don't get it. I'm personally, you can know that about me. I am more of a win streak player. I don't really like to play for a lost streak for a risky play. That doesn't mean I never do, but that's not really what happens often. So when that happens, it means that if you're win streaking, you mean you have the last pick on carousel, and if on the carousel there are two items that are like, oh, I could really use the sword and it here. Yeah, guess what? Last place always takes that. So with that, if I'm last place, I get overwhelmed because there are like a million components, and I'm like, oh god, which one do I need? Like a good player, of course, figured this out beforehand. I am at best above average, so I don't really like this all that much, and that is completely due to a skill issue. You can make fun of me for that in the comments. You are completely allowed to, but yeah, I am not a fan of this one. It overwhelms me and actively annoys me if I get stuck with something like, oh, I have a belt cloak. Great. I already have two belts and a sword or something. Like, okay, I can slam a Warmogs, I guess. It annoys me more often than not. That's why it's in D tier. I can't put it like lower than this because I know it can also be very helpful, but yeah, I just personally don't like it. Now, C tier. C tier, as I said, these are the portals that I don't actively hate, I don't actively dislike, but I am like, most of the time when I'm in a portal and it doesn't get picked and it's one of these that get picked instead, I'm like, but why? Most of the time people pick this because they just want to be trolls. They just want to be like, oh, I one guy the lobby. Like, congratulations, you one guy to lobby into something supremely bad. 31. Completed anvil. You get an extra item. Wow. I am so happy for you. Like, this may help you with a sugarcraft start or something along those lines, but let's be honest, nobody actively goes for this unless they just want a very boring and standard game of TFT. And if you want that, great. Play ranked in like Diamond Plus Elo. Um, Myself, I am currently pushing Plat, and I like to play more normals where I get to have fun and experiment with certain champions. So I don't know. This is not for me, and if you like it, great. But there's nothing to say about this. It's an extra item. Congratulations. Number 30, Golden Prelude. Now, Golden Prelude, Gold Augment first. I'm like, yeah, sure. Maybe I can play around the hero augment. Maybe I can play around, I don't know, something like patient study or something like that. Most of the time, though, I'd rather have a prismatic augment. And let's be honest, so does like 90% of the league player base, TFT player base, league player base. Uh, yeah. Still not like it's nothing too exciting. Sometimes you get something fun and like, hey, this is perfect. I already have 3 Gallios, and here's a Gallio hero augment. You know, something like that may happen. Overall, not really interesting. Like I said, the C tier ones are just the epitome of boring, and I find it really hard to actively say something uh, about it. Like, it's Golden Prelude. It's fine. Meh, whatever. 29, Anvil Buffet. This is also one of those that I personally don't like as much because it removes a lot of variety. As I said, I like to do with arguments like, hey, oh, this is a silver, and oh, ooh, I have recombobulate on 3-2. Oh, let's see, can I play around that? This is a similar one, but for the components. What this does is, of course, that anvils will drop instead of components. So for every component you get an anvil instead, which gives you just 4 components. And that's fine. Sure, that can help you if you want to play a specific comp. But 99 out of 100 games, I don't go into a game one like, oh yeah, I really want to play an Olaf game today. Like, no, I just see what augments I hit, what items I hit, and then I'm like, okay, this could be a this game, this could be a this game, this could be a this game. So I'm not really all that interested in this one. Some people might like it because you're like, oh, I can always do the best in slot items, and I'm like, yeah, but sure, maybe a bit of a hot take, but I think, especially in my elo, like until even like Masters elo, I don't think best in slot items matter all that much. Like, not at all, really. Like, a BT instead of a Hodge is sometimes gonna save you. Like, that is a more noticeable difference. There I would say that sometimes a BT is genuinely better than a Hodge for survivability. But having something like a guard breaker instead of a giant slayer on a carry, most of the time will not make that big a difference. They will still do a lot of damage. It amplifies a lot of damage. So I don't think the best in slot argument really applies here. So, and for me, it also removes a lot of the variety and the adaptability that I love about TFT. So yeah, this is not for me either. 28, gold opener. More gold. You start with 7 gold. Moving on. 27, a support anvil. Great. I start with a slightly more helpful completed anvil, if you will. This is fine. This is okay. As I said, C tier is hard to rank, man. The C tier, like, I'm not, I kid you not, when I was making this ranking, C tier was the rank, or like, what do I say about these? That is my criteria for, like, okay, these go in the C tier. Like, what do I say about support anvil? You start with a support anvil. You get 1 more support item. Awesome. It doesn't help you on 2-1 all that much. Because support items really only start to shine the most, in my opinion, in late game, where you have a comp, then you get a support item, and you're like, okay, I have a support anvil, I have these 4 choices, okay, this works the best for my comp, and then it amplifies what your team lacks the most. In the beginning, this barely even matters, because what your team lacks is a team. You don't have a team yet, most of the time. You don't have a comp yet. So this doesn't really do much. So this is, to me, just pointless. And not bad. I can never call it bad, because it's a free support item. But 26, a 3-cost champion. A 3-cost champion, it's the same of what I said about the upgraded and 3 champions one. You start with 2 more gold, essentially. Because instead of a 1 cost, you get a 3 cost. Surprise. But, let's be honest, this will not really help you all that much. A 3-cost champion is still good. it can still be like, oh, I start with maybe a Bard or a Jinx, and oh, it's Sugarcraft game because I already found a Rumble. Let's go. We're playing Sugarcraft. You know, something like that's fun. Or you start with a Wukong. Cool, we can win streak. Most of the time it's like, oh, cool, a Veigar. Nice. 2 gold. It doesn't really do that much. Most of the time it does nothing. There are those occasional moments where like, oh, okay, yeah, this can work. This is fun. This could be something. But after you've seen this portal like tens of times, like I have, you're like, yeah, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. Number 25, Champion Conference. Champion Conference is the first portal where it's okay, this actively affects your game. This is actively transformative for your game. You could argue that with Anvil Buffet, but this is the one where it's okay, you can play around this, you can adapt your comp to this, you need to change your comp around a little. At 1-3, like before you get your first augment, you need to have basically the comp that you want to play together, because then you get your 2 cost. This might also help you get that 2-star 2 cost in the beginning. Like if you start with a 2-star Ari or a 2-star Rumble or something like that, you're like, damn, okay, yeah, I have a strong start, we're win streaking. And most of the time, yeah, you can pull that off. And that is fine, that works, it's good fun. But also most of the time it's like late game, it is 4-1 and you already have a Taric and you're like, oh, a second Taric. Great. Not much. There's not much to say about it. Like, it doesn't help you that much. It sometimes comes in clutch and like, yes, okay, thank God we picked Champion Conference. But those scenarios are so ridiculously rare that I barely ever pick this one. There is, in my opinion, a better one which will be coming up a bit later. 24 and closing of C tier is Golden Gala. Now, Golden Gala could be fun. Golden Gala can absolutely be fun because, as I said, Golden augments in 2-1 and 3-2 can offer you hero augments and fun transformative ones like, as I said, as a perfect example, Patient Study. Most of the time, though, Golden augments are very generic. Like silver augments can be either extremely boring or very, very effective in very rare occasions. So think of Recombobulator, which to me are still pretty fun. And prismatics are prismatics. We all know how transformative and crazy prismatics can get. But Golden Gala makes it that neither of these type of augments can spawn, which is a little bit of a detriment to me. And while I don't actively hate it, because as I said, golden augments in the beginning are fun, I'd say that it's definitely not something I pick often. If there are like, if there are others that I'm like, okay, I've already played this one, and there's like Golden Gala, a Radiant item, and Radiant Blessing. I don't, something like that. That's just a random example. Yeah, then I might pick Golden Gala. Might, and I've already played a Radiant item game. And like, okay, no, I don't want to play another Radiant item game. Okay, fine, we'll go for Golden Gala. Go for Hero Augment. It's like, yeah, sometimes I pick this, but not often. Not often at all. Now, B tier, we are not even halfway through the list. There are a total of 36. We're coming up to 23. So as I said, most of this list will be pretty positive. And from here, you'll start to notice that I will get actively more positive. I will actively have more positive things to say about most of these portals. So let's start with the first one. 23, Castfest. Now, charms, as I said in the very beginning, are a fine mechanic. I think charms are fun, they are a good set mechanic, they exist. I personally like them less than encounters, because encounters felt like they had a lot more personality to them. I had a lot more like character specific ones and some that completely changed their game around, but they were also completely random. So on a similar level as encounters for me, but I just like them a little more. That being said, cast fast, buying more charms is something that doesn't affect your game all that much. Like you might save a little bit more gold with, in the late game with picking like, oh, I can save 6 gold, or with it 5, it's 10 gold now. It's you can save 5 gold with buying a dragon. Cool, pretty nice. But this really doesn't do all that much until the very late game. Maybe if you're lucky and on 3-1 you hit the all one cost charm. And you're like, oh, well, that's a free like 5 gold. Sure, that is nice. It doesn't mean that it's not helpful, but it's not all that interesting. I think there's a better charm related portal coming up later, and then I will really get into it. What I really, really like about charms. Number 22, the Tactician's Crown start. Tactician's Crowns recently got reworked, which, to be honest, makes him a little bit more interesting. I'm not always a big fan of it. That doesn't mean that starting with a Tactician's Crown is a bad thing, though. Starting with a Tactician's Crown, I take that, as I said, over at least 15 other portals on this list. I don't actively hate it. But as I said, it doesn't change the game up all that much. It's helpful, it's nice, but it doesn't change the game in the way that I love. So it's cool, it's fine, it's helpful. It can, if you're very, very lucky, it can help you towards that infinite gold Easter egg, which is great, which I love. I love that that's a thing. For the rest, doesn't really do all that much. 21 item payouts. This is also one that I like because it offers you a bit of a puzzle. It's a very easy puzzle, don't get me wrong, but if you can pick an augment that gives you a lot of components, or you might have a high component start if you're lucky, that means that you can make a lot of gold by slamming items early. If you get something like buried treasures, that means that you can get quite a bit of gold early. This is a very nice interaction. This is also everything that I can say about item payout. It is just, sure, that's very helpful. Thank you very much. And that little interaction, I think, I like a lot. But overall, this is just okay. Just a little bit more gold, and in not even that interesting a package, but definitely far from bad. 20 Prismatic Prelude. I feel like this might be a hot take. I'm not sure. I am okay with Prismatic Prelude most of the time. I like it. Starting with a Prismatic Augment is fun. It's cool. It's a nice bit of like, it's that adrenaline boost that you need to start your run off nice. But that's it. Doesn't really do all that much for the rest of the game. It's a bit boring to me. And I think a lot of why I have grown tired of this is because of how often this gets picked. I've seen people pick Prismatic Prelude over stuff like Gold Subscription, over even over Prismatic Party for some reason, over even over Scuttle Puddle. I'm like, why? No, it is helpful. It's cool, sure, but why in God's name over Scuttle Puddle? Spoilers for the end of this list. But yeah, I don't like it. That's not true. I like it, but I don't like how overhyped it is. To me, it might be the most overrated portal in the game. And with one of what I'm gonna say about Scuttle Puddle, as I said later in the list, might make you say that about me. But this is my opinion, as I said. So deal with it. Number 19, Treasure Golems. Another maybe controversial take. I don't know. I'm really curious how the community feels about this portal, because I've heard people say that they like it a lot, and I've also heard people say that they hate it a lot because it like I, to be honest, I don't even get the reasoning. I've just heard him say I don't like it, and then when I ask him why, it's like, well, because there are better ones, and it's the overwhelming and RNG, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what game you're playing? This game, while it's not entirely RNG based, definitely has RNG elements. If you don't like RNG, that's okay. But you need to go play another game if that actively hurts your TFT experience. This is not your game then. So to me, Treasure Golems, I like them. It's just two free treasure chests for you. It is essentially twice as fun as Support Golem, or a Support Anvil for me, sorry. And with the removal of prismatic treasure golems, or well, the nerf of it, if you will, it's more like the gold one became prismatic. This really solidifies this is the only way you'll ever gonna get two treasure chests on a golem ever again. So to me, that makes it pretty unique. Didn't used to be all that unique, but to me, this is really, really fun. I like it a lot. Just the overwhelming item overload when that golem explodes into a firework of items, especially now with the new treasure chest rework that it gives to your strongest champions, I believe, not nearest champions anymore. Makes it so you don't have to completely position so finicky around it, which I like a lot. So to me, this is just a very helpful one, a very fun one I pick quite often, if I'm honest, because I just like the golems. I think they're goofy, I think they're silly, and I like them. But there are definitely better golem-based portals than this one. So B tier felt right. Number 18, component anvils. Component anvils is definitely feels the same as a completed item on the surface level, but it's entirely different. Um, Component anvils, like in essence, it still gives you the same value as the completed item. What the difference here is that you can choose to use them both early to get an early start going, to get very strong, and to win streak. You can also choose to save them both, and after the 2-5 carousel, you can pop them then and be like, okay, then I can buy this, and then I have 6 items on 1 carry or 1 tank, and then we'll go from there. You can also do it with a full item, of course, but with component anvils, you have a third option. You have the third option of I'm going to use one now, see if I'm lucky that I maybe can start with a Rage Blade for my Tristana and later transition that into a Callista game. And if you hit it like, great, I have a Rage Blade on my Tristana, a full tank item on my front line, and still component anvil left that I can save to 3-2 when I get my augment and then see from there. There's a lot of choices that you can make with this one, which makes it really, really fun to me. I will admit that I often pop these just at 2-1 and see like, okay, cool, I have full tank items and I have a rage, or like as a maybe a Shojin on my Ari, or and a Warmogs on my tank. Great, works as well. But yeah, the choices that you can make with these make them rank a bit higher than the more boring ones of like, okay, if you choose not to pop them, you're at a pretty big disadvantage. And if you choose to pop them, you either get exactly what you want or you get not what you want at all. With these, you can make a choice of like, okay, I kind of get what I want here, and I can play around that, and maybe that means that in the late game, I'm gonna play like this. So it's good. It's definitely good. I think a much more transformative and, as I said, much more of a puzzle. You might detect a pattern here. Much more of a puzzle than the like C and D tier augment. And closing off B tier is number 17, Radiant items. Radiant items are fun. Radiant items are powerful. They make tanks invulnerable and they make carries absolute nukes. This is fun. It's always fun to get a Radiant item. And I really like Radiant items, as I just said. There's one issue I have with this portal though. Why does it appear on 3.7? Why don't you just immediately start of like pick one of 5 Radiant items? Why? And I know this is probably a reference to set 5.5 where you also got a Radiant item right before Wolves. And I'm like, yeah, sure, that's a cute reference, whatever. Just give me my Radiant item on tier 1. Like, come on. Please, just give them to me. But yeah, definitely not bad. As I said, it's still Radiant items. It's still cool. I still like them a lot. But please just make a Radiant item anvil and give that to me on tier 1. Please. Because I don't know why this annoys me so much, but it is just something that I've always been confused by and always been like, okay, but why not? Why not just make a Radiant item anvil? I don't know how much time that would take to make that like model and put it into the game, but like, please just do that or make it on 2-1 or something. I don't know, or 2-2, whatever. Just make it early. Because I'd love to see what early Radiant items can do to the game. And maybe they tested that. Maybe they tested that already and they were like, okay, no, this completely screws over the early game balance. And sure, if that's the case, then I'd love to know. But for now, I'd love to see this appear earlier and then it might rank a bit higher. But yeah, just a one-time very, very big bonus is not enough to make it S tier. A tier. Now here we get into the ones that I really, really like, and if these appear, I very often pick them. Number 16, Overachievers. Overachievers is the other charm-based portal that I talked about in Castfest. And this one, as you can tell by its placement, I like a lot more. What this does is it makes that higher tier charms can appear earlier in the game. Now, what does this mean? Now, there are 4 tiers of charms, if you will. There are the tier 1 charms that can appear in stage 2 and 3. There are tier 2 charms that can appear in stage 3 and 4. There are tier 3s that can appear in 4, 5, and 6. And there are tier 4s that can appear in stage 5 and 6 onwards. Now, what does this exactly mean? So this means that you can get tier 2 charms in stage 2. Keep with me. And tier 3 charms in stage 3. And tier 4 charms in stage 4. So you can potentially get a dragon from stage 4 onward. You can possibly, if you're very lucky, get a dragon before you even picked your 3rd augment. This makes the game very swingy. And you can argue, you can debate about whether or not that's a good thing. In my opinion, it can be a good thing. It's not all bad. It definitely feels a bit awkward when you're on 4-1 and you're like, oh, great, okay, I have my 6 portal together and oh, I have my first rise and okay, somebody has a dragon. No, that's where I feel it's a bit bad. But what it can also do is that it can give you incredible bonuses. You can get an artifact anvil in stage 3, and you can get an artifact or a random emblem in stage 3 and have 6 portal on 3-2. You know, something like that. It's something crazy like that. That to me is fun RNG. And you can get the the higher transform augments where you like the 3 transform a 3 cost into a 4 cost on 3-5 or whatever. And this makes it very fun. So you can get a 2-star 4 cost on 3-5. That's pretty early. So something like this, it can make the game very swingy, and this where it is very hit or miss for me. More often hit than miss, but still it doesn't really completely ruin the game. It doesn't completely save or like revolutionize the way you play the game, but it can lead to some pretty fun scenarios. So to me, low A tier feels about right. Number 15, Burger King spatula. Now, the Burger King spatula. Oh god, I'm gonna leave that in. The Burger King spatula. Yeah, let's go with that. The spatula start is a classic. You can get another extra portal emblem, a fairy emblem, or a witchcraft emblem, and you're like, oh, I have 4 witchcraft on 2-1, or I have 6 witchcraft on 2-5, or if you hit a lucky Fiora or something. That's fun. That can be very, very fun. Though most of the time it's like, okay, I have a spatula. Now I kind of have to play a vertical trade. And I don't always want to play a vertical trade. I'm not someone that always plays around the 10 Portal or 10 Eldritch or what is it, 9 Fairy or 8 Witchcraft. I don't always want to do that. Sometimes I just want to play something stupid like 7 different traits that all are bronze, you know? Sometimes I just want to do that. And that's where Spatula really feels like it kind of limits my games. That being said, starting with a Spatula still means that you can do very, very stupid things and you can do very, very fun things. So yeah, I still really like it. I think it's still a very, very fun bonus. But as I said, it's limiting you a little bit if you don't feel like playing verticals. So I don't hate it, but yeah, it's it sometimes gets a bit annoying when you see 3 people have a portal emblem. Number 14, the frying pan. Now, the counterpart to the spatula we recently talked about, this is the McDonald's frying pan, if you will. This is, of course, very similar to the spatula. It's been introduced very recently, I think 2 patches ago, is the moment of this recording. Uh, and to me, it feels more transformative than the spatula, which is why it's higher. It also doesn't force you into a vertical trade because a lot of frying pan emblems are not verticals. A lot of them are you can max have 6, maybe 8, with like something like Bastion. But most of them you can't really play vertical all that well. You need more trades because if you purely play like a Vanguard vertical, cool. Now you have 6 Vanguard. You cannot put in more Vanguards and make it useful. But it is still something that I think transforms the unit more. Think of something like a mage emblem compared to a fairy emblem. A fairy emblem gives the unit a bit more health and makes it capable of holding the fairy emblem. Cool, fun, a bit more damage. A mage emblem makes it so it casts twice and it has improved AP ratios because 80% now. 80% they cast twice in effectively 160%. So improved AP ratios. Just felt like felt like I need to clarify that. So that's what I mean is they don't all not all of them feel like just plain stat boosts. They feel more transformative, which I like more as you could tell by the rest of this list, and will able to tell by the list that is still upcoming. So this is very, very fun for me. Frying pans can lead to some very fun ones, but both of these I could not rank higher because there is one that combines them both together and makes it just really, really fun puzzle to figure out. But this is also definitely not something I hate. Number 13, the Artifact Anvil. It's always fun to start with an artifact, let's be honest. We all love artifacts. Artifacts are very niche, by design, niche items that completely transforms the way a unit works. Not all of them, mind you. Like you have something like the shield that just gives your team a bit more shield based on the armor and MR. But there are also stuff like fish bones and the rapid fire cannon, something like that, that completely transforms you the way you play a certain unit. And I like that a lot, if you couldn't tell. And that's why Artifact Anvil goes pretty high on my list. You might think, oh, it's the unlucky number 13. Nah, it's still good. But these are fun. They can change the way you play based on the artifact that you get. You can play like, oh, I have a Tome of Ascension here. Okay, I need to make something tanky. I need to make a tanky unit that also deals quite a bit of damage, or I'm gonna put it on a backliner and hopefully build a strong enough frontliner so that he can carry the entire fight late game. Or as I said, an RFC. Okay, I can play something that has low range, but now I can make it full damage and make it insanely hard hitting. You know, it's fun. It really transforms your units. God, take a sip for take a shot for every time I said that. But yeah, really fun. Always good to start with an artifact, and I think never a bad thing to have. Number 12, Champion Duplicator. The Champion Duplicator is fun, like especially with the golden ones, which are really rare. Like the random drop is, I think, less than a percentage from any orb, uh, except for gray ones. I think it has a small chance of dropping from a blue orb, but I'm not 100% sure of that. But the Champion Duplicator, as I said, it just gives you a 1-star copy of the champion you use it on. Pretty standard, but the greed potential here is mad. If you're greedy enough, if you think, oh, I have a strong enough start that I don't need to use my Duplicator right now, and I'm gonna save it to hit like a 3-star 4-cost with it, you can do that. You can choose to do so. And I find often that that is what I do because I am greedy like that. Because I am sometimes just feeling like, oh, sure, let's go for a greedy game. Let's go for like a 3-star Rise, or if I really go crazy, like a 3-star Morgana or a 3-star Zereth. Just crazy stuff like that. Sometimes you want to go for something like that. And because I mainly play normals, I can do that because it doesn't affect my rank. So sometimes I feel like it, and that's where this one is really fun because it makes that scenario just that little bit more likely. Number 11, Radiant Blessing. Well, for the people who play 5.5, you have this every single game. I don't play 5.5 that often. It's not really the type of, mainly because of the the champ pool sizes, and it's not really what I like a lot about TFT. But you always have this. In 5.5, you always have this. In set 12, you can choose to have this as well. And the drops you can get from it are sometimes really good. Like you can get a couple Thieves Gloves, a spatula, and a lot of components. A crap ton of gold sometimes. And that is really good. It's really fun. And it makes something like the fortune augment, really good. And I like it a lot. I like it a lot. It's fun. It's just an extra, like it's where the word stimmy comes from. The stimmy that you get is great. Just always helpful. Can transform the way you play a little bit. As I said, I like to win streak more than lose streak most of the time. But yeah, sometimes when I feel like lose streaking, when I feel like greeting, sure, let's go for this. Number 10. Well, we're entering the top 10 here. And we're starting off with Champion Delivery. This is, in my opinion, the more fun version of these two. While Champion Conference is more reliable and more actively useful, I'd say that Champion Delivery is more fun because it's more of a gamble. Now, the main difference between these two is that Champion Delivery, A, gives you a higher tier champion. It starts with a tier 3 or a 3-cost champion instead of a 2-cost. And it appears twice per stage. And mainly that last one can really change the way you play. In stage 2, this is a guaranteed plus 6 gold. That makes it about as good as a gold opener. If you're lucky enough, you can get a tier 2 Wukong or a tier 2 Hecarim out of it on stage 2. Sweet! That is amazing. And the later and later the game gets, you get 4 costs and 5 costs. Imagine hitting your 3-star rise thanks to a champion delivery. Now, that is exceedingly rare because for what I know, it also takes the champ pool into account. So it's unlikely you hit it. But that feeling of hitting that and hitting that 3-star rise, hitting that 3-star 4 or 5 cost because of champion delivery is unrivaled. It is seriously one of the best feelings in TFT for me. So, while I'd say the low is a bit lower than most A tier augments, I'd say the high is definitely S tier. So that's why it's like around the middle of A tier for me. Number 9, Pot of Gold. Pot of Gold is a portal that I think I like more than a lot of people. And as I said before, I am a win streak player. I am someone that sometimes does like to play aggressively. I like to play aggressively more often than not. And that means that Pot of Gold is perfect for me, because that means that most of the time when this one pops on 6-1, that I'm probably still alive. I am probably relatively healthy, maybe like level 8, and I have like my 3-star 3 cost, 2-star 4 costs, and yeah, I get a lot of gold, and then okay, free, sweet, I can get a free level 9, awesome, let's go. But I also recognize that there are some people who really don't like this because they are not win streak players. They are more greedy players. It definitely doesn't reward greed. And I see that. I can definitely agree with that, which means why it's not S tier. But in my opinion, for my playstyle, it seriously helps me a lot. And I think it's always great fun to be with like 2 or 3 players remaining and you all get like maybe close to 100 gold or even more. And that is just really fun. It can cap you out. It can help you hit that 3-star 4 cost, that 3-star 5 cost if you're very lucky. Don't get me wrong, like if you're greedy with this and you can win streak and you can be strong early, then this is the perfect one to pick, because that almost guarantees you're gonna hit a 3-star 4 cost if you play it well enough. So really fun. Number 8, Gold Subscription. Gold Subscription is kind of what Champion Delivery does, or more accurately Champion Conference, but it does it with gold. Once per stage, you get a random amount of gold. Now, this is entirely random. It is either a gray orb, a blue orb, a gold orb, or I think there is a very slight chance of a prismatic. I'm not entirely sure. I have not seen it myself. Of course, the gold gets more and more and more as the game progresses. So in stage 4 and 5, this can mean you can get maybe like 20 gold or something from nothing. You can get a free 20 gold. This means that sometimes the game is really accelerated and you have a lot more loot than you originally would. And the great thing is, you don't have to win streak for it. You can lose streak with it, have a crap ton of gold, have like 50 gold level 5 by Krugs, and then get a gold orb on 3-2, have a crap ton of gold, and then get offered golden quest. That's a great scenario that you can have golden quest by 4-1. That's amazing. So, as I said, like with Champion Delivery, the highs are extremely high, but why this is like borderline S tier, this is the final one before we're entering S tier, is that the lows are not as low as Champion Delivery. The low is still like, oh, cool, gold, thank you very much. So I'd say very underrated in my opinion. Moving on to S tier. S tier, I don't think I have to explain it. These are the ones that I will always pick if they appear. These are amazing. I love them, and if you don't, then I don't know. Get ready to disagree with me. That's all I can do. Number 7, Prismatic Finale. I like Prismatics a lot. Prismatic is great. But sometimes you don't want to play with entire prismatic augments. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to leave the option open to get like a hero augment on 2-1 or 3-2. And this is where Prismatic Finale is perfect. Well, I'd say perfect. It's very, very close to perfect because you can still get a little unlucky and get a horrible, boring set of augments on 4-2. That can happen. That's the nature of prismatics. But you're not as hurt by it because it's only one. So I'd say this is just very good. And to me, ending on a prismatic always feels better than ending on gold or silvers. So that's why it's definitely an improvement, definitely worthy of S tier. But yeah, not definitely not like the best of all time or something, but still good, absolutely great. Number 6, Make 'em Cook. Now this one recently got reworked. It was first Let 'em Cook, where you still got reforgers. This has been reworked to where reforgers no longer drop, and to me this has only improved the portal. What a lot of people used to do with this is to reforge either the spatula or the frying pan, more often the frying pan than the spatula, into, well, a frying pan or a spatula, and go for verticals. So that basically means that it's a spatula start, but twice as good. That's boring. That is really boring. But now that reforgers no longer drop, that means that you have to solve a puzzle. Oh, I have a spatula and a frying pan. What am I gonna cook? At the worst, you get a tactician's crown. Great, a tactician's crown, awesome. Or tactician. This is the tactician shield, I think. I don't know, but you get the equivalent of a tactician's crown, an extra unit slot. Great. If you're like me, and you want to cook a little with it and you want to figure out a puzzle, then you're like, okay, I have a Vagar here and I have a Hecarim here. Can I play something around this? Then I can, okay, maybe I can go Nunu and go Honeymancy and Mage, and maybe make something like Ari can be Mage or something. And you know, I in my head I start to figure out that puzzle of like, okay, maybe I can do this with this, and then on the carousel, okay, I get maybe a Katarina, so I can play warriors, maybe make Hecarim a warrior or something, and play fairy with it. I like to think about it like that. That means that stage 2 often is a lost trick, and it doesn't always work out, but it's still a very fun puzzle to solve, and something that, as I said, I really, really like. Number 5, Prismatic Party. This is the ultimate gamble. If you're a fan of RNG, and if you're a fan of casinos, if you will, pick Prismatic Party. And while I'm not a gambler, I would get addicted in a minute, this is my gambling. If I'm like, okay, screw it, we're gambling, we're going for something crazy, I pick this portal. This portal is amazing. All prismatic augments means that sometimes you get insane high rolls, like upgraded adventure into something like the prismatic ticket. Great. Then you can have it completed by 3-5, and you have maybe like 60 health left. Amazing. Sometimes you're just very unlucky and you get 2 boring power augments, and you're like, okay, well, I'm good. This is gonna be like a 3rd or 4th, because there's gonna be one other person that hits the crazy greed augments and has upwards mobility into what else is there? Something like invested or something, you know? That happens, and that is why it's a gamble, and that is why it's not top tier. It is definitely S tier because it makes the game extremely fun for the person that hits, But I can also definitely see the argument of like, okay, yeah, but I'm never a person that hits. And then I'm like, well, yeah, but you're just not greedy enough. Clearly, you're just not trying. So, if you don't like this, there are arguments for it, but come on, be a little more greedy. It's sometimes what you need to do in games like this. Number 4, trainer golems. Remember what I said about puzzles? This is my favorite puzzle to figure out. Trainer golems is amazing. Trainer golems is, well, exactly what it said. You get a golem that has 3 completely random emblems equipped, which you cannot remove, you cannot reforge. These are the emblems you're given. What I will say with this set and why it's not number 1 is that if you hit Arcana emblem, you win. Period. That is the biggest problem that I have with it. But that doesn't mean that this portal, therefore, by definition, is flawed and should be ranked lower. I think it hurts it, and I said why it's not number 1. But this is still a very fun portal to figure out. I always see this as, okay, I can maybe do some, I have Honeymancy Portal Warrior randomly. I just to name something. Okay, what can I do with this? Okay, well I know that Portal has mages, so that means that I can play Galio and maybe Nora in the late game. Vhagar is Honeymancy Mage, okay, and then I can play Tarek and Nunu for Bastion, and then I have Portal, Bastion, and then what was the Warrior is like, or it's like, okay, well, I have to ignore that one. Or maybe I can splash in a Fiora or something. You know, it something like that. Figuring out that puzzle in my head is really, really fun. And what I really, really enjoy the most about TFT. So, this is one of my personal favorites, but I will say that the Arcana emblem is like, okay, yeah, please make that stop working because I don't like it. I really don't. Number 3 is Scuttle Puddle. Surprise, right? I already kind of spoiled it. But Scuttle Puddle is Scuttle Puddle. It's the classic. It's probably the best portal introduced in set 9. I don't like set 9. If you want me to get into that, I will. You can come to my stream, twitch.tv/Moxham, and ask me about it, why I don't like set 9, and I will explain it to you. But Scuttle Puddle got introduced in set 9, and was, to me, one of, if not the best thing that we got out of set 9. The best? Maybe not. Spoilers for the ones that are a little higher. But Scuttle Puddle, we all know them. The Scuttles are amazing. They drop bonus loot. They give extra stuff. They are adorable as hell. And we all love them. What else you need? And at stage 5 plus at the dragon, instead you get a chonker of a Scuttle. What else do you want? It's amazing. Number 2. Remember what I said about Scuttle Puddle being the best thing about set 9? Loot subscription. Loot subscription is that good. Loot subscription, I might have ranked a bit higher than a lot of people. I'm very aware of that. But that doesn't mean that I don't have a good reasoning for that. Loot subscription, to me, perfectly embodies what I love about TFT. What loot subscription does is every single stage, everyone gets the same loot from a highly varied pool. So what this means, sometimes you get something amazing, sometimes you get a reforger. This means that the lows can be low, yes, but that means that the lows are low for everyone and the highs are high for everyone. That's perfect. That's, to me, perfect design. Sometimes you get something crazy, like, okay, everybody gets a free artifact anvil. Great. Sometimes everybody gets a reforger. Sucks. But it sucks for everybody, and it's equal for everybody. So that's great. As I said, I love variants. I think loot subscription is the best example of variants in TFT. And my personal favorite, But there is one that I have to say is just better, and that is number one, Crab Rave. What else? It is Scuttle Puddle, but better. Scuttle Puddle was already really freaking good. Scuttle Puddle is a classic, as I said, but this is the same amount of loot, the same adorable little scuttles, but they don't take 2 years to kill on 1-1, Elise. And you have Crab Rave by Monster Cat playing in the background. And that's not even all. 5-7 Scuttle is monstrous, as I said. Now, when a scuttle that big starts raving, that will cause an earthquake, and your units will slowly start to die. Try to beat that. It is really difficult. I have beaten it maybe I think 2 handful of times. And some people might not like that. But to me, it feels like the first edition of what I would call a TFT boss fight. And come on, how cool is that? So you get more loot, better shots at hitting ridiculous highs, and an extra boss fight with an amazing song playing in the background. What else do you want from TFT? With that, we come to the end of my ranking. I'd say thank you very, very much for watching. If you made it to this entire tier list, it's a ranking, it's a 1-by-1 ranking, not really a tier list. But if, as I said, if you want to chat with me about this ranking, if you want to ask questions, if you want to just talk to me, I stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, sometimes in the weekend, on twitch.tv/Maxim. So if you want to come over, I'd appreciate that very much. But for now, I'd say let me know what you think of it. Let me know especially what you like about it, what you didn't like about it, what I can improve maybe about the way I make these videos. And for now, have a great rest of your day, everybody, and hopefully see you on my stream. Bye bye.